have you ever been to a self-serve bar, ice cream, whatever, and then they ask for a tip?
Never in a million years will I tip you. Never.
That's insane. Like, I literally just did everything myself, and you want a tip. Do you think the AI could be the end of tipping?
Yes, hopefully it does. Tipping is awful.
One good thing if it's the end of tipping, and I don't mind tipping when it's deserved, but there is people ask for tipping for everything now, everything. And I so badly sometimes want to look at them and go, if you can tell me exactly what you did here, then I'll tip you. But if I ordered it, I picked it up, in some cases, I freaking made it, and all you did is say, thanks, have a nice day. What am I tipping you for?
Okay, so let's talk about the labor in restaurants and how leveraged it is for tips. So why are restaurant workers paid a majority in the tips and not a lot in the hourly?
I think the idea originally was you could make more potentially. If it was mainly tipping and not a lot hourly pay, then you are free to have if you put in effort and you make money back, you're free to have that. There's no one saying you can only make so much.
Okay. So what about from the restaurant side?
I would think that they say, hey, here's this baseline. This is what we have to pay you. We don't have to pay you anymore, so we keep more profit.
So in the restaurant industry, you're open, 12 hours in a day. And more than half of those hours is dead. There's not a single person in there.
Yeah.
So if I were paying 10 servers in an hour that was dead, I would lose my ass. Right?
Oh, they cut you.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then you have lots of hours during dinner time, lunchtime, and whatever. And so the restaurant's like, well, we can't pay a certain wage because we'll just go out of business, where there's not enough money to pay people to stand around, and there's not enough work to do in a restaurant where you could be doing other valuable things while you're there. You're literally just standing waiting for a customer to come through the door. So we have to minimize the labor liability for the restaurant so they can afford to have employees altogether to make that industry even useful. So then we're going to be like, okay, well, you've got to make up that you might have worked 5 hours of your shift and made a whole $10. But now when we actually have people, we got to give an incentive to backfill that, to average you up. So it puts the pressure and the emphasis on the customers. Then we were open a long time, right? 12 hours. That was for you. Nice and convenient. Yeah. Now take care of our people and pay them, 20, whatever 20% is. Is that about the standard now?
I think so.
20% on the bill. And then they'll be made whole. They can make a lot more money to compensate for when they were making almost nothing for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Which is understandable. It's still a gamble. I know servers that are like, I worked a double. I worked all day long and made crap.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe you'll have a dinner shift.
But it's a gamble on both sides, right?
It is.
Restaurants have low margins. The failure rate on restaurants is super high. If they don't take a strict mathematical game on it, they'll go out of business, because it's not that you can even have a busy, successful restaurant go out of business because of managing the downtime.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I've seen restaurants where like, oh my gosh, they were always busy and they always had a good dinner crowd, and I'm surprised they closed. And so you think that could be why then?
That is why. You are in the restaurant industry. You are not engineering being busy. I mean, yes, you still have to have proper servers and make sure people aren't waiting, and your cleanup crew and people serving good food. That'll take care of itself. The hardest part of a restaurant is managing when you do not have any incoming revenue and looking at all of the people that you have to pay.
Yeah.
Right? Because then
that's that example of I'm here whether we're making money or not.
That's right. Managing the downtime. So if you change that, let's just say, it's proper to say, well, a server should be properly compensated. Let's take the minimums for restaurant workers and make it $15 an hour, right? It sounds really good, but what you do is you make half the restaurants not be able to pay $15 an hour when there's downtime. It's even more pressure on consumers then to pay even more, right, in tips to offset what the cost for paying people to do nothing.
Oh, yeah. If I was a restaurant owner and I was paying my servers that much, and we were dead and there wasn't a single person in that restaurant and I'm watching everybody stand around,
You're watching the meter going.
I would be like, I'm going to throw up. You're just like flushing it. And that's why, I mean, a lot will cut people, will send people home if they're dead. And at the same time, when you're busy, you are busy. You are running. It is very stressful. Have you ever been a server?
No.
I was a server for a very short while. And I would say it's probably the most stressful job I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, it's brutal.
I hate
it. It really is.
And
if you were to take robotics and AI and just replace the server and have all robots serving things, being that it is brutal, and the liability just disappears from their balance sheet. When the robot's sitting there charging, if there's no customers, it's not doing anything. You already paid for the robot. You get rid of human being in that industry for sure. And then you don't have to tip. Not necessarily you don't have to tip because it's a Android, right?
Yeah.
But you're not offsetting a liability. You didn't have to pay that robot extra because they were there.
So we were talking about human emotion, becoming connected or attached to something that's not even human. I wonder, social experiment for years into the future, all servers are replaced with an AI robot. Robot comes over to your table, maybe acts just like a server, talks to you. Thank you for coming. What can I get you? And is so delightfully charming. Do you think people, if the robot asked if it was a social norm, would tip the robot?
They would. The robot
would be like, you are
a
delight.
Only because we'd have it something to compare it to. The server that had a bunch of baggage and was mad that day and whatever, you can remember a bad experience that you had with a human. And look at this robot, said and did all the right things, attended to every need, got my order 100% right. And you're like, damn, that's so much better than a human. Here's $50, Mr. Robot.
Yes. I've gone back to restaurants that the food was like, okay, but the people were great. And so we go all the time. And even though if it's a robot and you know the tipping is just going to the restaurant itself or the owners, it's not really going to a server, but you become sort of emotionally invested, I bet we would tip a robot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what the connection, we're upping your game. The women now having to compete for other things. Do you step up your game and compete against it? So if you're a server and robot's going to do this better, do you take all the things that we just mentioned there and start doing that now so that at least your employer is like, the advantage is no longer in the robot. We got these humans that stepped up their game, that they are attentive and they're always put on a smile and whatever. It's harder to replace the person that checks those boxes before they have to.
Yeah. I mean, imagine tipping a person, a human being that didn't really smile and their attitude kind of sucked. And maybe they really need the money. Or a robot that doesn't need the money. It's a robot. And if you hand them $1, they're going to say, oh, how generous. Thank you so much. You are such a kind person. You're going to be like, I'll give that robot money all day.
That's exactly right. Because you have something to compare. But in the future, when you don't have human beings, like, you mean human beings used to walk around this place and deliver food? That's kind of weird. Like, why would humans who have this big brain, could do all of these deep thoughts? Why did we waste human capital on bringing dishes out that a robot could do? You humans were silly back in those days.
Oh, that's sad. We got a couple of things up. Can you scroll up?
Oh, yeah.
We missed a couple upward. After BJ's comment. I remember working as a server, especially rough when the tips died. LOL, appreciate more now. Yeah.
Managing restaurants sounds stressy. Yes. I hate the shared tipping concept of all servers aren't. Yeah. So that shared thing. So let's just say you're a high performer and you work it to get those tips and you have to share with the hostess who might not be as good as you and the cooking staff and the wait. That would suck.
I don't even like if I'm at a bar and they have like the community tip jar. And then people just put money in it. Like, I will, but I feel something in my brain. I feel better giving it to the person that helped me because I feel like it went to someone who deserved it. I feel like if I just throw it in a jar, is like the dude over there playing on his phone going to get that? And the dude that was like really pleasant and helpful and knowledgeable about the drinks not like, oh, it just makes
And
me
I feel
uneasy.
bad because when I see the jar, I take the money and I make sure everybody's watching me put it in. Like, putting in, tip in the jar now. Yes, I want them to know
Thank you.
it's coming from me.
Especially because you know that at a bar, if you tip well, you might get better service. And so I hate if I'm about to leave a really good tip and you don't get credit for it.
Right, exactly.
It's like, thank you. Oh, should I put it in here? Is this okay? Here you go. We do. Anybody that does not want credit for putting money in a tip jar, you are lying. We all want credit.
Absolutely.
We all want to know we did that. Somebody mentioned labor laws. Yeah, like what would that do to labor laws and stuff? I wonder.
And again, warming up to this stuff. If you got, they got a fry machine, right? $80,000. You buy it. It lasts 3 years. It flips your fries, takes the place of a human being. So what that happens is now you have to protect labor. You almost create a human labor versus mechanical labor unions, and they fight against one another for dominance. And the 1980s sci-fi or dystopian movies where we got at odds somehow with the machines, and now labor hates them, and they take chances. They take shots at them and try to dismantle them and try to destroy them, versus kind of like doing it intelligently and saying, okay, well, let's set some guidance. Like, what do you do with people who were fry cookers before, and now you just pay $80,000 and you've replaced, think about it. So $80,000, how much do you think a fry person makes? A fry flipper,
like at a fast food restaurant?
McDonald's, yeah.
Probably minimum wage.
What is minimum wage? $15 an hour, we'll say?
I honestly don't know. I thought it was more like
17?
10.
Really?
Is it 15?
I don't know. We'll use 10 and see what the cost savings is.
I don't know what it is.
So if you work somebody an 8-hour shift, you're spending $80 a day for them. What's 80 times? Let me.
You were asking the wrong person.
I'm going to math
if
this
it
up
is
a
a math
bit.
question.
Yeah. So 240 days times $80 a day. So you're paying $20,000. That's what the fry person is making. $20,000.
And that's for what, an hour?
That's for $10 an hour. It's
got to be more than. If anybody knows what Ohio minimum wage is, please let us know in the chat. It's $7.50 still.
Holy!
I thought it went to 10.
Holy!
Is it $7.50?
So anyway, you buy a robot.
Fry people.
You buy a robot that replaces your labor cost. That the labor cost has to then either. You can't get more competitive with $20,000, right?
Yeah.
Either the food has to be more expensive to pay for that labor cost. That's a little bit of a tragedy right there.
That's why people keep saying we want good paying jobs. Again, anyone in the chat, if we are wrong, please let us know.
I got to look to see in Ohio what is minimum wage.
I mean, that's why people fight over good paying jobs.
$10.70.
I knew it. It was 10. Okay, 10.7. I knew it was closer to 10.
But still, $20,000 for a deal, right? A fry flipper.
Are you saying that's too much?
No, they're getting a discount if the robot costs $80,000 and it lasts 3 years without any kind of maintenance on it.
Yeah.
And the human being costs $20,000. In 3 years, you would have only spent $60,000 on the human.
And they could work infinite hours.
Oh, that's true. You do get more hours. That would replace 2 people, not just one. Okay. No labor laws, no breaks, no missing orders. Okay. So they're advantage on the machine for sure then. But when it's the fry person, you're like, oh, that's kind of a tragedy. We probably shouldn't let that happen. But then when it's you and what you were doing gets replaced, you're like, I want the world to come to a stop.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to defend that robot's about to take the job that I once had.
And listen, you just said something too that resonated with me. And I'm going to be a little hypocritical because, again, I'm usually pushing for more people, fewer robots. I would love if my order could stop being wrong.
Mm.
It happens so often that I almost now have to be in the right mood to go out to eat. Because if I'm hungry and I'm a little hangry and my blood sugar is making it so that I'm irritated, I'll just be like, so help me God. If you bring my order out wrong one more time, I'm going to go postal. Like, I can't, it happens so often. If somebody said, here's an AI robot, they pay attention, they know exactly what you ordered, they bring it out correct every time, I'm going to be like,
You'll get that benefit.
That's
can you
appealing.
see how it's connected, that you are going to take the bait, right? And you are going to put the legions of robots that's going to replace everybody because you can't tolerate a couple of mismatched
We're
fast
not
food
talking
orders.
a couple, Joe. It is the norm.
All right, so what if human beings just were not intended to be in service of other human beings? In order to be a good service person, you have to actually give two shits that an order is right.
I think that's exactly what human beings were intended, was to serve each other.
Okay, and if that's just not the case, if evidence in the marketplace, like humans just don't care about getting the order right. If they're like, oh, you know what, if I get it wrong, you can come back in and I'll give it to you a second time, right?
Yeah.
They don't give two shits. They make $10 an hour. Would you give two shits if you made $10 an hour?
But if you're working on tips and I'm only making 10 an hour, but if I'm really good,
that would be an incentive.
Yes.
That would be an incentive to do a great job. And if fast food, low value, food services, they don't have an incentive to get the order right.
Yeah.
They don't care. That could get fired.
I mean, like somebody mentioned earlier, they said, servers work hard, always tip them. Absolutely. But do you always tip somebody in food service that's not a server, that just handed you your food? Like, if you place an order over the phone in a restaurant and you go pick it up and the hostess hands it to you and then it's wrong. Oh God, like, don't even ask me for a tip. If I just did all of the work and it's wrong, then I'm really going to be insane.